Welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Curious podcast. We are rolling into basketball season. Now, October is the best sports month of the year because we are in the middle of NFL, college football. We just started NHL. We have NWSL. We have WNBA playoffs. We are just oozing with sports and we are rolling into the NBA season. And here joining me to talk about the season ahead and what we have to look forward to is my brilliant co-founder and co-host and favorite brother, and the only reason I know what I know about basketball. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. We're in the middle of a sports junkie overload right now, so it's nice to jump in and talk some basketball.
Are you sleeping? Because I feel like all you've been doing is attending sporting events in Las Vegas.
Sleep has been worse than usual, to be honest with you, with late night hockey games and football games. So we're surviving though. We'll sleep in the off season.
You'll sleep at some point. Basketball season always reminds me of. Do you remember when you played at the Boys and Girls Club?
I do. Carpet gym, loud, lots of whistles.
Lots of whistles, rug burns. I think your sister, i.e. me, may have been a bit mouthy because I'm very protective of you. I do remember that skill of mine, and this is why I know so much about the world of basketball, because basically I was so talented. I was basically a bench referee, you know.
You're the enforcer in the crowd. Nobody's getting away with anything, even the refs.
No one's picking on my baby brother.
Nope.
Even though he's bigger than I am, no one's picking on him.
That didn't matter. You could still beat me up, so.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. You definitely win that now.
You could always run me over with my toy truck like you did when we were younger.
I did do that.
Not to bring back bad memories.
That's why they have therapists.
That's true.
Speaking of therapists, what are you going for as Halloween really quickly before we dive in?
I don't want to divulge too much information just in case things change, but there's a movie about a sloth that kills people that I might be going as. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Do you have a costume that you're confident in revealing?
I am quite confident in this one, and I've just ordered all the pieces off of Amazon.
Okay.
I'm going to go as Donna Kelsey.
Oh, wow. You have the glasses?
Someone gave me that idea today. I have the glasses already. I ordered a blonde.
Chiefs Eagles jersey?
Well, I ordered a Chiefs t-shirt and an Eagles t-shirt, and you know I don't sew, so I'm probably just going to like super glue those together somehow.
Okay.
Safety pin them. And I ordered a blonde bob wig. So
perfect.
I'm doing the news that day to talk about haunted stadiums. So I'm really hoping they say we're going in costume, because
show up in costume.
I think I need to find some Taylor Swift bracelets though.
I mean, she might show up if she thinks you're Donna Kelsey.
It's true. I mean, I'm here for this.
So I'm not going to rule it out. Tune into the news, Tulsa Channel 6 on Halloween.
Yeah, to see if I can lure her with my Donna Kelsey double.
I'm excited.
I mean, someone gave me that. Someone was joking yesterday about it, and I was like, that's actually a really good idea. I'm here for this. So,
you can pull it off.
You know, speaking of treats, let's roll into basketball season. Give us all a baseline so we all start this season on the same page. How did last year wrap up? What do we need to pay attention to and know from last year that continues through to this year?
So if your brain is full of other information with other sports and actual real news, and you can't remember what happened back last season, the Denver Nuggets won their first ever NBA championship, defeating the Miami Heat. Remember, we had the biggest elevation change in NBA Finals history between the Nuggets and the Heat. So that obviously played a factor into that. And now we're here getting ready for a new season. And our MVP Nikola Jokic, the star of the Nuggets, he had probably the best offseason of all time. He's notorious for not even liking basketball. He just does it as his day job, like many people do, and then go home. And he went back
You
to
know.
Serbia and raced his horses and partied shirtless a lot.
Well, I mean, if that works for him, I feel like he's
It
meant to be
worked.
like an 80s and a 90s baseball player at that rate.
Yeah, he just wants to go back to Serbia and race horses. So
Got to make
he's
that
very
money while you
identifiable.
can.
He's very identifiable with people who don't like their jobs.
Well, noted.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
except he
those of
makes
you
millions of
who
dollars. So
right,
yeah.
those of you who want to resonate with a professional athlete and really feel like you guys are like in sync, that's
Hmm.
it right there. I show up, do my job, and all I want to do is go home and be with my family and race my horses.
Yes. Do you remember the clip? Like they said the parade was like a few days away, and he was really upset that he couldn't just go home right after the
Yes.
season. He had
Yes.
to stay for the parade.
Yes. I do remember that. And I believe he was immediately on an airplane after that.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
The
Well
horses
done.
needed him. So
I mean,
very
you got to do
relatable
what you can.
superstar.
Very relatable, minus the fact that none of us own horses. But besides that, maybe
Exactly.
someone listening does own a horse. I don't even own like one in the backyard. So
Not yet.
not yet. Not yet. Not till I make it big on TikTok, basically.
As Donna Kelsey. As Donna Kelsey.
As Donna Kelsey. You guys, you've heard it here first. Lucky you. Okay, so that was 2022. We had
Yes.
LeBron. He was still around. He's still around. But let's talk a little bit about the sort of the buzzwords or the storylines that we want to follow that are a bit different this year than what we've seen before. So talk to me about these sort of two big storylines that we need to pay attention to. And if you want to talk basketball with your basketball friends, these are two things that you can really talk about and that are also relatable because we're talking about load management, i.e.,
Hmm.
balance, and in season tournament. Maybe not so relatable as it relates to work, but load management is.
Yep. So this is the initial season. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has always kind of looked at European soccer as like the benchmark of a schedule. So they have all those in-season tournaments that we've previously talked about, like Champions League and everything. So this season, there will be an in-season tournament in the NBA that's going to it's it's going to be they're going to play their regular season games. It's not like they're shutting down and going somewhere else to play all these games. A majority of them will just be regular games that are designated as part of the in-season tournament, and it'll just count towards the standings. And then
Okay.
they will have, if that makes sense, it gets
Yes.
very complicated once you have to really break it down. But from early November to early December, there'll be designated tournament games that'll count towards the record.
And if I
And then
remember
there will
correctly
be
from go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if I remember correctly from the WNBA, it was sort of like key
Mhm.
games, if you will, had like a bonus star next to them. So they were already on the schedule, but they
Yes.
just happened to have a bonus star.
Mhm.
This is an in-season game. So it wasn't anything new. It just happened to be this in-season, this particular game had a little extra weight to it.
Yes. So yeah, just a little bit more emphasis. It's yeah, WNBA has the Commissioner's Cup, which they play during the season, so it's very identical to that. So they kind of did follow that format as well. And they just want to break up the season's so long, and they're just trying to honestly just make players care more in the middle of the season when when they may not have the most motivation. And then there'll be a semifinal and a final in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena, early December. So
No sleep for
that portion will
Scott.
be we will most likely be there, so tune in. But that portion will be like an actual tournament, so they'll have like the semifinal and the final in Vegas. So these players won't be upset that they're in it, although it is 2 extra games.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And that's the problem. You have to get these guys to care enough to show up and actually want to win rather than getting a few extra days off.
Yeah, of course. And I'm imagining there's some significant money on the line, or what's the bonus if you win?
The bonus, I believe, off the top of my head, I think if you win, it's 500,000 a player for the
Okay.
winning team. which is pretty significant. I looked at some of the salaries. LeBron roughly makes 500K a game. So it's good for him. And some of the guys who don't make that much
Right.
will definitely try to get there. So I think the losers make around 200 to 100,000. So
That's pretty impressive.
significant for you and me, maybe not for some of them.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah,
Now, talk to me about this. This doesn't seem to quite tie into load management. So, talk to me a little bit about load management.
you're correct. It doesn't really go with, for resting players like they're looking for. So a lot of the nationally televised games, these networks, they pay so much money to produce the games, have the games on their airwaves. So they don't want star players sitting out for nationally televised games, which they've run
Sure.
into a lot of issues in the past where, they have this marquee game and then half the stars are out and you're watching some of the bench players and you don't necessarily know who they are. So they've enacted some very significant fines for teams that break the rules and sit players in these nationally televised games.
Interesting. Do you think you'll see more like, I don't want to call them fake injuries, but maybe a one off LeBron has the stomach flu today type of things versus he's just sitting out?
So that's actually written into some of the rules that in the past, you've seen this guy may have tweaked his back, he's out tonight, but nobody really looked into it or
Fully.
cared.
Hmm.
So if it does seem in an instance where they think he's going to be playing, they're going to have their independent doctors go in and actually look and verify like this guy is actually hurting, rather than
Wow.
just like a phantom. It's tough to tell if someone's really got an injury, but they're going to have to actually look into it.
That's really interesting.
So it's they're really trying to crack down because it really hurts their broadcast partners, and without
Sure.
that, the
And their bottom
NBA,
line.
yeah, it hurts the bottom line. So they're really cracking down this year. So hopefully you'll see your star players when you tune in. And
Interesting.
kind of
Did-
to counteract that, they've adjusted the schedule quite a bit. There used to be a lot of back-to-back games, so where you would play one night, fly to a different city, and play the next night, and that's usually where you ran into problems. So this year, each team only has 14 instances of a back-to-back, and none of them will be before the high-profile games.
Okay. And I'm imagining they were mindful of you're flying from, LA to
Mhm.
Utah where you're staying on the same side of the country, I would imagine as well for those back-to-back games. You would think.
Yes, you would hope so. So, I mean, even though they're flying charter and private,
Sure,
still,
but
it'll
still, it's still a
it'll definitely take a toll on the body.
absolutely. Are there any other sports that you know of that have this sort of independent doctor, no sitting during big broadcast games sort of clause? Have you ever seen this in any other sport?
I have not. I think NBA is really the only league you're going to see a load management type mentality, just because the season's so long with the 82 games, and like we said, the broadcast partners pay so much money. It's just a different mentality in the NBA. I mean, hockey has the same amount of games, but those guys are not load management. They're playing every night.
Mhm.
They don't care. It's just a different mentality of basketball players. Not that I'm saying it's bad, but they're just trying to be smart, avoid injury, and
Sure.
really focus on the postseason.
It's interesting. It just seems a
Mhm,
bit, you like when you went on, like, I don't know, like you go on a class trip or something, you trust your students to a point, right? And it seems like they
mhm.
trust them, but not really. Like trust but verify in a sense.
Yes, so there is some trust, but they're just going to make sure that any injuries are legit.
Yep. Interesting. Now, before we dive into some of the new faces, old faces with new teams, I want to read a little bit about our friend Amanda McKinney, one of our partners on the podcast. And we all know that we don't live in an ideal world, but we typically plan like we do. So when we're thrown off, it can really throw us off course and it's hard to get our momentum back. And our girl, Amanda McKinney, well, she's seen her fair share of, she has life happening moments, and she's continued to make progress on her vision and her goals. And that's why she's putting together a resilient business planning course. And we have 20% off if you use the promo code LNG. She's running her live sessions October 18th, 20th, and 23rd. And if you're catching this after the live sessions, there's a DIY version that you can save 20% on as well. And so go to amandamckinney.com/2024 to register. I can tell you, Amanda is a brilliant mind and has helped me on so many things when it comes to structure and planning. So her resilient business planning, I have no doubt, will be fantastic. So go to amandamckinney.com/24 to save 20% with promo code LNG. Now let's dive into this season when it looks, we have new faces and then we have
Mhm.
old faces with new teams. So let's maybe start off with the phenom that everyone's been talking about, Wemby.
This year, Victor Wembanyama, the 7'4", I guess phenom. I mean, he's unlike anything we've ever seen. He's almost like, I don't want to be mean, but an alien in a way. The way
Mhm.
that
It's
he's so
huge.
tall, he's huge. He can do everything. Like he's not. You see a lot of guys who are that big who can't really dribble or shoot, and he can literally just. He has every skill set you can imagine, and he's coming over from France as a 19-year-old. He'll be playing for the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay. That'll be really interesting to see. He's so young.
He is young and he's extremely skinny, which you kind of worry about him going up against like guys like LeBron and,
Mhm.
some of these Jokic, who guys are 280, 300 pounds, and he's maybe 200 roughly. So, and I will point out that these load management, a lot of these fines won't apply to him because he doesn't qualify.
What
So
does that mean?
there's certain rules for the load management in the high profile games. It's, I think, any NBA All Star in the past 3 years or a certain amount of games played. So
Okay,
he
so
will
since
not.
he's a rookie, he
Mhm.
doesn't participate in that load management. Interesting.
He does not. And the Spurs are notorious. Greg Popovich, he kind of started the load management deal. So it'll be interesting to see how much he actually plays and which spots they send him out. That way he doesn't get run down and beat up.
Mhm.
So it'll
He's
be an
gonna
interesting
need
strategy.
They're gonna be cranking him full of protein shakes to thicken him up
Yes.
and build him up a little bit. Okay, so we have Wemby. You already mentioned LeBron, so LeBron is back.
LeBron is back after they lost to the Nuggets last year in the Western Conference Finals. He kind of teased maybe he was thinking about retiring. It was a big storyline. So nobody really thought he was going to retire.
No.
He's turning 39 in December, and this is his 21st NBA season,
That's
which
that's
would,
old for an
it,
NBA player, right? I mean, like, significantly.
yes,
Okay.
significantly older. And, you've got guys like we spoke about Wemby, who's 19.
Mhm.
There's so many young guys in this league. He's been in the league longer than most of these guys have been alive.
I mean,
So
think about that. Wemby does not
mhm,
know a LeBron-less NBA.
he does not. And
That's
all these
crazy.
rookies, second year players have been watching him their entire lives, which makes me feel old.
It kinda
So
does too.
no, he feels old.
How is LeBron, is he still playing well? Like, give us a little bit of LeBron 101 for those who didn't watch last season. Are we expecting him to still play at the same level, or is he sort of tapering down, hoping one of his sons gets drafted soon so he can retire?
Um, he's it's gonna be he's gonna pick his spots. We've previously spoken about how much he takes care of his body. So
Mhm.
he's one of the guys that really focused on that early in his career, spending millions of dollars on his body in the off season. So physically, he'll be there. He's already got the scoring record for the NBA all time, so he's really doesn't have much more to play for, to be honest with you. So he's still ranked in the top 10 players.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And
Let's Go ahead. I said,
I was just
let's
going to say one
touch.
more thing.
Go, please.
He's got one more year till his son Bronny is draft eligible. So he's at USC, and he did have the heart condition issue, which he had surgery for. So hopefully he'll play at USC this year, and then he'll be eligible to be drafted next year. And LeBron will be a
That's
free agent, so
that'll be interesting. That puts them in
we'll see.
quite the 1-2
Yes,
combo.
yes. So hopefully, it's always been a
Very
dream to play with his son. So
That's
hopefully
pretty
that
I
works
have to
out for
say
everyone.
that's cool. Okay, touch quickly, really quickly on James Harden and Damian Lillard real quickly, because then I want your predictions before we log off.
Okay, we'll start with James Harden. He always seems to have some kind of a drama in the offseason about where he's going to play. He was a free agent in the offseason, but he re-signed with the 76ers for 2 years with kind of the understanding with his longtime GM Daryl Morey that he would be traded once he signed the contract. But he has yet to be traded because to be traded, you have to have somebody who wants to trade for you. And
Mm,
it doesn't seem
sticky
like,
points.
and he said he would only play for the Clippers. So they really took away all his leverage as a trade. So he's called Daryl Morey a liar. He's gone on this huge, charade of not wanting to play. So we'll see what happens.
And James Harden, for those of you who don't know, previously dated Khloe Kardashian, big bushy beard, just to give
The
people
beard,
perspective and put faces with names. So, okay, and then to
the beard.
Damian, the beard.
Damian, so he's been with the Portland Trailblazers his entire career. His mindset was he was always going to stay in Portland, try to build a winner there. He didn't want to join a super team, but at a certain point, the Trailblazers weren't getting to the playoffs and getting the talent that he needed to really win. So this offseason, he demanded a trade as well, kind of like Harden. But then he said he would only play for Miami, which takes away a lot of leverage in trades. So it was kind of a lot of back and forth over the offseason. Everyone thought he would go to Miami. But the thing is, his salary is extremely high. I think in 2 years, it'll be $69 million. So
Wow,
that's a lot to trade for.
absolutely. To one team.
So, and now the organization didn't listen to him, didn't grant his wish to trade him to Miami. So we traded him to the Milwaukee Bucks to be with Giannis and or however you
I
pronounce it.
mean, uh, Miami, Milwaukee. In
We'll start with them.
alphabetical order, they're close.
Yes. So at
Climate,
least, I
not
mean,
so much.
they did trade him to a team with some good players. So at least they didn't trade him to another team that's irrelevant. So he will have a chance to win a championship.
He'll be there with Giannis and his cute little kiddo,
hmm
and so that's a win.
So yeah, and he'll be the missing piece they've never really had as like a half
Okay.
court shooter. So
Okay.
it'll be interesting.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap us up with predictions. Let's pick you can pick 2, I'll pick 2 of the final 4 teams that will be in it at the end. You wanna go first?
Okay, I will go first. That way hopefully I don't steal your picks. I am going
Probably
to
will.
pick, I think the Denver Nuggets, despite Jokic's lack of interest in basketball. They return a lot of their players from the championship team, and they're just so well built, so well coached. So I think they'll be one of the two to come out of the competitive West. And then I'm picking the Boston Celtics, who have been in the conference championship quite a few times, in the finals quite a few times, and they benefited from the Lillard trade. They signed Drew Holiday. They traded for him, which is a
Mhm.
point guard that they desperately needed. So I think it's my picks are Nuggets Celtics.
And Drew Holiday, if I remember correctly, has his wife is a former US women's soccer player, correct?
Yes, and then she went through that battle with was it tumors or cancer?
I
So
believe
she's
it's
been
brain tumor, yeah.
yes, so she's been through a lot. So it'll be nice to see him maybe get to the finals and win a championship.
That's awesome.
So
I'm gonna
those
pick
are my
the
two picks. Who
Bucks.
are you going with?
I'm gonna pick the Bucks,
Okay,
mostly because it's close to Miami, but not really. Just kidding. It's a humble Miami.
it is.
But I really love Giannis and his he just looks happy when he takes the court.
Mhm.
It'd be neat to see Lillard over there. And I always have to cheer for the Phoenix Suns. They were my sister company back when. I got to cheer for my girl Sarah, who is over there, and so I got to cheer for the Phoenix Suns.
I have no argument with those two either. I think that's a really good pick.
I mean, I'm full of sports knowledge and all the things. Let's head to the sports book immediately.
You don't want my help. You're better off
I
picking your
probably
own.
It's possible. It's usually, half the time it's dumb luck. So, is there anything you want to leave us with before we wrap this podcast on the 2023-24 NBA season start?
I think we pretty much covered everything. There's a lot to look forward to. Maybe some actually star players playing in nationally televised games.
We'll look forward to seeing them all in Vegas in December for the in-season tournament final. You'll, of course, cover that because you always go do the cool things while I stay home
Yeah.
and make applesauce at home with my house.
So if anybody's out for the in-season tournament finals, let me know.
I know a guy. Perfect. Well, thanks for sharing
Deal.
your wisdom with us, and hopefully your popcorn with us in December.